have seen a structure of C program. Now we shall see one example related to the structure of C program. Everyone should follow the rules of this programming, only then you are going to call as a good programmer. As part of structure of C program, the first we have documentation section. So as part of documentation section, we have seen there are two types of comment lines which can be written. The first one is single line comment and the second one is multi-line comment. A single line comment, we have seen it can be represented by double slash, whereas multi-line comment is represented by slash followed by star. Then we write some content, whatever you want to write it in the multiple lines. Then we need to close it with a star followed by slash. So here I am writing C program to display hello world. Now whenever we want to close this, we need to give it as star followed by slash. This is how multi-line comment will be end. As part of given program, we need to write this documentation section because whenever your code is being referred by some other programmers or by someone else, then they should be easily able to understand the problem statement and the person who is writing the code, for which this is how we need to write it in the multi-line comments. First, we are going to write the problem statement. What is the problem statement associated with the program? So we need to write it as slash star followed by problem statement, with which anyone looking at the code, first they understand by seeing the problem statement. Now as part of this particular program, I am writing the problem statement as C program to display a hello world message. So I am writing a problem statement to display a hello world message. As part of any programming language, you consider whenever you start learning, you will start learning from a hello world display message. The same as now we are starting with a hello world message. Now as soon as we write it, we need to write who is the developer of this particular code, who has written this code, who is the name, what is the name of the person, because for the communication process we can exactly reach to the person for understanding if at all you miss anything, right? So developer name. So here I am writing my name as Aravind Kumar followed by to in which particular organization he is working, company or organization. So here I am writing it as Virtulearn. This is very much needed only for the communication process, but not by the compilers. Compiler will exclude these things while it is executing, and we need to also write date. So what is the date? 13th August. And from which location you are writing this particular code. So I am writing this code from Hyderabad. I am representing it as Hyderabad, because once you are working for a big MNC companies, your code you will be writing from the different geographical locations, and sometimes we may also require to represent what exactly the problem statement is and who is the developer, and if at all if it is required, we will also give our contact details whenever it is mandatory. So let us see the just for a reference I am writing it. the contact details. The contact details, I am writing just a dummy number, contact details. So this contact information is also important for the communication by the different programmers. If at all, if they have any doubt or if they have any query regarding that particular code, so they can approach you. This documentation section, it is not mandatory, but it is good that if you use it. And the next section is link section. So as part of the link section, we have two important things. One is hash include and the other one is define, hash define. So here, what is the need of this particular hash symbol? The hash symbol is used for pre-processing the directives. The hash symbol is used for pre-processing the directives, which means whatever the libraries associated with the program, you are insisting the compiler to go to that specific library and understand the syntax, semantics of that particular library and try to implement them as part of this particular code. So that is the importance of this pre-processing directive. For example, if you are writing a C programming exam tomorrow, so definitely previous day you are going to read the contents of that particular subject. If at all, if some question is asked out of the syllabus, then you can easily identify because you have already gone through that syllabus. The same way, here hash include whatever the header file we are enclosing within the less than and greater than symbols, then the preprocessor directive will process that particular library and make your code run with checking of syntax and semantics, followed by whatever the library supports. Everything will be pre-processed. That is a need of this preprocessor directive called hash. The name of this hash is technically called as preprocessor directive. Now, as part of this particular code, we are going to write it as hash include followed by within the less than and greater than signs, we need to write it as stdio.h. stdio.h. So the abbreviation of stdio.h is standard input output header file. So this header file will support all your standard input output operations, and there are different header files like string.h, math.h, bool.h. According to the requirement of your program, you are going to include this libraries. So if your processing of your code is related to the any mathematical functions, we use math.h. If it is related to string manipulation, we use string.h. There is also another within the hash within the link section, that is hash define. As part of this code, I am not using because it is also not that mandatory. According to the user requirement, we write the hash define followed by macro name and we give the value. That is the importance of hash define, so which is also called as define constant, and the name we write it as macro name. So in the coming examples, you will understand how to use hash define. but as part of this particular simple welcome, that is hello world message, I don't require any define section. That is the reason I'm not using it. The next section is global declaration section. In global declaration section, whatever the variables which you define, you can access in main as well as user defined section. So as part of this code, I don't require any global declaration section, so I'm not using it. And the next very important section is main function section. So every C program has one and only one main function section. So we write this main function section to call the operating system to provide the different resources what we need as part of the code execution. So here, in order to write this main function, we need to also give some of the return type. You see some of the textbooks you find void main, and in some you can find int main. So I suggest you all to prefer this kind of a signature, int followed by main. Within that main function, we have two important things. One is initialization section and the other one is executable section. So as part of this particular code, we don't have any initialization and declarations, so we are not using it. Now let us see how to write this. Int followed by main, and within this closed and curly braces, open and close curly braces, we need to write a message what we want to display on the screen. So whenever we are writing this printf statement, we need to give a tab space. So it is used for readability of the code. We give a tab space. This is also called as indentation. We need to follow indentation. As part of Python code, indentation is very mandatory. So if you learn the C, you can also learn the different languages as well. Now printf hello world. Printf is a function which is an inbuilt function which is used for printing the content onto the monitor. Whatever we write within the printf followed by inverted commas, the same content will be displayed on the screen. And the next one is return 0. Why we are writing this return 0 is, as we have used int main, so we say the compiler that whatever the resources whichever we have used as part of the code, we have successfully utilized it, and we are releasing that particular resource which can be readily used for other programs. So this is how we need to write the return statement, return 0, which says a successful execution of your source code. This is how we write it. Once we write this particular source code, next we will also go for the execution part. And there is also very important thing which we need to remember is, whenever we are using int main, the last statement you need to write it as return 0. Whenever we write int main, the last statement you need to write it as return 0. Now the last section what we have as part of our structure of C program is user defined function. We call it as UDF, user defined functions. Whenever there is a lag or there is a need beyond the inbuilt functionality, then we go for user defined function section. So as part of this particular code, I don't require any user defined functions, so I'm not writing any user defined function section. And you will be seeing this user defined functions in the topic called functions in detail. Now once we have written the code, the next part is we need to go for execution. We all know that now this entire code is in high level language. In order to make this high level language understand by the system, we go for execution. once the high level language converted into low level language, only then you are going to get the exact output. Now if you are executing the code, which means you are trying to check the compile time errors, syntax errors, and if your code is error free, then you are going to get the output what you are expecting. So as part of this particular code, we wrote a message in the printf, that is hello world. This hello world message is displayed on the screen once you have executed the code. So this is how everyone should be able to write code according to the structure of C program.